Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Catholic Libertarian Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Based Hopian. Hold up, I got the stream going on the other end now. There we go. Was driving home and I'm like, no, I want to talk to somebody about stuff. So I lit the bat signal and he's like, let's do it. So
cool.
How you doing, man? Doing good?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Enjoying a nice night. Got some beer on the side here, relaxing.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
Nice. So I was gonna have you on to talk about getting libertarianism right, but
yeah,
I was gonna help a friend move. Then his car broke down, so we had to get a U-Haul with his dad. And then I was like, okay, the boss, like, everyone's working weekends and working late. Yeah. Then I got COVID. Then my boss got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like the day I had planned, I was like, okay, I can't go to help a friend move. Okay, it's not moving now. It's working late. Now it's not working late. Now it's COVID. And it's just been one after the other. And the fact that all that ended up not happening, and then a random stream at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday, I was like, let's do it.
Sounds like
I haven't read the book yet.
Sounds like you have a lot of bad karma built up, man.
I apparently I missed praying the rosary twice is what happened. I missed it 2 days ago.
Well, there you
go. I broke my strike.
Yeah,
I had a streak going.
Speaking of the rosary, I started learning the rosary in Latin, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, actually.
So I'm making my own podcast.
Yeah, actually, it's a lot different, you know. That being, you know, as Catholics, we believe that Latin is a sacred and consecrated language. So just the fact that you're praying the rosary in Latin, it gives a little bit of, you know, extra specialness to it, and I definitely feel the difference. Yeah,
all my Catholic friends want me to learn Latin and start doing stuff in Latin. I'm like, guys, I'm learning Italian first. Like, I want to go to Italy, and I know I should learn Latin, but I don't know any babes who speak Latin, so we got priorities here.
I mean, honestly, you don't have to learn Latin. Just like learn the stuff you use the most. Yeah, like the rosary is perfect. Like the Hail Mary, Our Father, Glory Be. That's probably the order I would recommend. I mean, like, you pray the rosary once, you just learn the Hail Mary because you say it 53 times.
Yeah.
But the hardest is the Hail Holy Queen. That's the hardest one to learn. There's a lot of words there. There are tongue twisters, and they're all like combined together. And I'm like, this is going to take me a while. Yeah.
Well, I want to start doing it. I just, excuse me. I need to find the time to. I don't have the time to do anything. I feel like I spent 10 days laying in bed, and I got COVID. I'm gonna read, and read, and then the brain fog hit, and it's like I can't finish a sentence.
Yeah, I had a COVID too. When did I have COVID? Jesus Christ, I forgot. Anyway, I had COVID too. It was in February. Now I remember because my grandmother had a knee surgery at the same time because she broke it. But so the only day of symptoms I really had was the first day, and like I had the whole gambit. I had sweats, and then I had chills, and then, you know, lost taste and smell, like literally all those symptoms. And then after that, it was just like 7 days of feeling absolutely useless. Like just walking up and down the stairs was a trial.
Yeah,
but
I feel like it was bad for me.
Yeah.
I moved up all the water. I moved up the cough drops. I moved everything upstairs. I'm like, I'm not going downstairs. I tried to move up the vitamin C stuff, and my dad was like, no, I take those too, and I'm not going to your quarantine room. So leave this down. So every morning I wake up on 2 o'clock and like, what? This is. I don't know about you, but I could not sleep for more than like a few hours. Like I was up every few hours. I could not get a full night's rest.
I was fine. I slept better then. I don't know. My body was just so exhausted that it's like we're just gonna knock you out. And
I wish that was. I was up coughing. I woke up one night. Woke up 1 hour freezing, so I put on 4 blankets. Yeah. Woke up an hour and a half later sweating. I had an input on my bed, so I had to get up and hop in the shower and do all my laundry. Yeah. Went back to bed. Woke up coughing. We made my bed because it was all dry. And went back to bed again. It was just repeatedly every night. It was terrible.
Well, the most bizarre thing was, so my father and I got it at the same time, probably because we went to a Super Bowl party and we were exposed. That's probably the most likely culprit. But my mom didn't get it, even though for 2 days we were walking around the house. We were asymptomatic. And my father and mother shared a glass. And so we were both diagnosed with COVID. We were both positive, and she was like normal. So I think part of that is that because my mother's been getting flu vaccines every year, there's a theory that certain strains of flu vaccine most simulate the antibodies that are formed with the COVID-19 vaccine, so that people already have that natural immunity built up inside of them, and that's why they're better able to repel the coronavirus.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That adds up. So, Hopian.
Yeah.
Full blown, like, monarchist Hopian or like paleo Hopian?
See, it's a good question. I guess I would say Hopian without adjectives. I guess I'm not like I don't consider myself a Hopian feudalist or a Hopian monarchist. I mean, of course, part of Hoppianism, because of democracy, the god that failed, it posits that monarchy is a preferable governing system. To synthesize it, a monarchy incentivizes capital accumulation over income maximization. So it incentivizes the monarch to practice a more prudent governing policy, let's say, so that he can pass on his kingdom down to his posterity. And also because there is a very distinct line between the ruled and the ruler. Number one, you have a lot more solidarity with the ruled class, whereas in democracy, because different types of groups of people are basically fighting with each other through the vote to have their voice, quote unquote, represented, it creates conflict and chaos. So it tears apart and decivilizes the society, we would say. Whereas in a monarchy, you have more of that class solidarity, and it also incentivizes the monarch to, again, like, exercise prudent governing measures, because it would be very obvious that the monarch is acting in tyrannical fashion, whereas democracy paints this illusion that the government, represents the quote unquote public opinion, like, and public goals, and things like that.
So I would give me like, do you think this is a thing I've seen discussed. Do you think the people who put the theory of Pareto circulation of the elites, that it's elites replacing elites, and it's never really new elites come. It's new elites replacing them, but it's never when the elites put in democracy and showed it to the masses. Was the intensity? I believe the intention was to divert the attention of the masses towards the other masses, to split the masses against each other.
Well, of
not
course.
so much to. Some people believe it was more in line to like make the people support them, support their own oppression. I don't think it was that sought out. I think it was more get them fighting each other instead of the support their own oppression because they have a vote to saying things.
Well, the way I would say it is that democratic governments have an incentive to get as many people as possible reliant on the state's existence, and it's incentivized to perpetually grow its sphere of influence. So, for example, LGB and the Great Society, LBJ, Jesus, and the Great Society, where it was posited as a quote unquote, we will, help those who need it, or what it really turned into, instead of the quote unquote social safety net, it turned into a social hammock. And then you have a larger proportion of the population that became dependent on the state's existence. And you see this with the government's solidarity with unions, where even in unions, which is supposed to represent the workers, it forms its own elites through the bureaucracy of the unions that work in cahoots with the elites that are in the government. And it creates all of this perverse Leviathan effect. But also, like you mentioned, and I would agree, that governments are incentivized to create chaos. Because once you create chaos, you create the need for governments to step in. And usually what happens is that government addresses something, whether it created it intentionally or not, it doesn't matter. Where government steps in, or government addresses a problem, say, we need to do X. And actually, Mises talks about this in The Middle of the Road Leads to Socialism, where he talks about the so-called third way of interventionist economies. And he said it's really a misnomer. It's just a delayed form of state-controlled socialism or fascism, where you would try to address X problem, and then at that X solution creates Y problem, and then you posit, let's do Y solution, and then it creates all of these problems to the point where private property is essentially meaningless because the state controls all areas of the economy and all areas of all the businesses, and basically the people who are quote unquote in charge and are privately owning it are just stewards that are taking orders from the state.
The point of socialism leading to, I mean, light and Vincent is this delayed socialism. Like that was something I really figured out when I was reading Theory of Socialism and Capitalism by Harper.
Yeah.
Is that like there really isn't the idea there's two kinds of economies. There's mixed economies, socialist economy, capitalist economies. There really isn't. There's like the mixed economies are much more like that chapter on conservatives and the socialist conservative types, like right-wing socialists. It was incredible. I mean, that's a fantastic book for anyone listening. Oh, cool, we got 0 people in the chat.
That's fine.
I've been going through Harper. Like at the same time, I started reading Harper. I've been having all the post-libertarian types, and so I've been talking to Pete Quinones, Matt Erickson, and it's so like mixing the. I would say I'm in the monarchist camp, like firmly. Like I think that is preferable. Honestly, I'm moving more and more towards the idea of the Rothbardian and cap society, less and less being possible, because leftists exist, and I don't need to permit it. Like this massive leftist, it'd be very hard to keep. You have to, like Harper said, forcibly remove. You wouldn't be able to allow leftists in your community to prevent the growth of state. And the universalists that so many people possess, I don't know if that's over. Until I see a massive change in culture, or a group of people getting enough arms and means of protection, I don't see Incapacitation occurring anytime without major change in the culture and human nature. But I could easily see a corporate like monarchist type system people subscribing to. I see it more clearly and more possible than the people like Dave Smith or Tom Woods talking about and NCAP free society.
Okay, so let's actually dive into it. So here's what I would posit: that yes, under the current system, if you're trying to reform, quote unquote, the United States to move towards an ANCAP society, that is just lunacy. So that is why most Hoppians advocate for secession, because you can hypothetically cede a small swath of land and, as Hoppe describes, act as a city-state. Where he had this famous example is that Europe would be much better off if it was 1,000 Liechtensteins, where you have this ability to create competing city-states that can rule for themselves and determine how they want to live, almost like a covenant community. And then you can have this competition of smaller states. Whereas when you have a big conglomerate like the United States, there's not much incentive for competition because okay, where are you going? If you have a federal system, it's like, okay, where are you going to go? To a shithole country? Good luck with that. Yeah. But, and like this is one of the great things the Free State Project is doing is that where even if you have people that can see that an ANCAP society is not possible, like any step towards that is progress. I
don't disagree with that.
You can't have this, absolute. Okay, and this is what bothers me on Twitter too, is that people do not understand the concept of trade-offs. They I like this whole thing with critical race theory. It just bothered me so much when I was saying that you have to understand this is a neo-Marxist doctrine that is intentionally trying to create a generation that will support the policies that the state wants to enact on other people. Because the state realizes that, at least right now, yes, they have, through multiple generations, 6 to 60s, right now they have position in the universities where they do have the professors in there, and they are producing these elites that support the state policies, but they do not have enough of the general population to support those policies. So now the goal is, if we can use this Trojan horse of critical race theory to create this population that will support the state upending all of the institutions, then honestly, it's just game over at that point.
Yeah.
So when I posited on Twitter, like when the critical race theory bans was happening, like, yes, this is a good thing because yes, the state right now does control curriculum. And if the state is in this position, we should support measures to prevent the state from perpetuating propaganda with the explicit intent of propagandizing our children to support its expansion. And they're like, no, we cannot do it because in some tangential way, it is coercion on the children that want to learn it. Which, first of all, the children can learn it. It's not a ban on. It's not like if you have Ibram X. Kendi or critical race theory for beginners or whatever, that the teacher's going to rip it out of your hands. You can read it for yourself, But it's just that the state will not mandate it and will not implement it in the curriculum. But still,
the libertarians that were upset on this were terrible. I mean, it was. I was reading some of the defenses of it, or the defense of in the case of that, I was like, this is so dumb. It's like Dave Smith had it right when he said, if they're going to teach math in school, I probably teach 2 + 2 is 4, not 2 + 2 is racism. And I have such a problem with these libertarians who are so they let the perfect be enemy of the good. Where it's like, I would prefer no public schools, but if we're going to have it, let's not let them engineer kids for our own downfall later.
Right, and they also misrepresent what is the element of coercion? First of all, I would argue that there is no coercion because this is not being forced on the children.
Hold up. We got another guy hopping on the stream. This is the other guy coming on. My friend Caleb, another a monarchist type. Caleb, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing great.
We're discussing critical race theory in school.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I'm discussing the cringe on Twitter where I came out in favor of critical race theory bans because I posited that you have to understand that this is a neo-Marxist ploy to propagandize your children for them to support measures that the state will use to expand its power. And so, yes, it's a good idea that if the state currently has this power to determine per curriculum, we should prevent it from propagandizing your children. And then they were arguing in some tangential way it is coercion because then the kids will not be able to learn about critical race theory and then, we won't want that, which it's not because it's explicitly the school teachers, which are state wards, which are state employees, cannot implement this in their curriculum. They're manipulating the nature of what is the quote-unquote coercion in this case.
The other thing go ahead, Caleb. You didn't say?
You're preaching to the choir. I teach in a private school, actually. I took one look at public schools and said, no, thank you. Although I'm here in Florida and DeSantis is doing his best to change my mind. So I'm okay with that. I would say critical race theory should be taught the same way that Marxism is, as a horrible idea that we never need to try and implement.
Well, you're getting ahead of yourself. You're making a lot of assumptions about how Marxism is treated in public schools.
Oh, I know how. Yes.
One
how it should be taught.
Sure.
One of the this carries over to the whole vaccine. The company's asking for vaccine passes mandate against that we have in Florida. Yeah. I have no problem with it. I know some people say it's differently because it's laws on public institutions, on private institutions, but I really see no problem with it. My argument about it was when you have the federal government and the corporate systems incentivizing businesses like Walmart to bend the knee and ask for these kind of things, and go around state government. State governments have the right to say, no, we're not going to let the federal government and the corporate incentive structure, control these companies. This is like Jim Crow laws, sort of. Government said, here's Jim Crow laws, you have to follow these things. And there was Supreme Court cases saying, hey, people wanted to settle black people, and they were like, no, you can't. The government's doing the same thing with these vax passes, but they gotten better at hiding because it's not explicit laws anymore. Which gives the smart federal government and the state level the actual chance to be like, hey, we can write laws against this now and actually combat this on our state level, which I have no problem with. This idea that it's maybe it may violate some right of a freedom of association, but when you understand most people who are asking for this aren't actual proponents of freedom of association, they're just trying to play into the incentives set by the corporate fascist government. I don't have no problem with overriding that idea of theirs.
Caleb, you go ahead and go first.
Yeah, this is
me for a moment. I was like, I just went.
This is why I believe in using power. I've seen it floating around, the idea that most libertarians view just the use of power as an evil unto itself. And I disagree with that, which is probably why I'm not an anarchist. But being able to say, no, we're not doing this here, I think is vital to any group. Any group should have, any authority should have that veto power of, no, you know what, we're not doing this here. That's what it's there for. That is like we're all saying, well, no, every government, every state always turns to evil. Well, here's the state doing the thing that it was said to do that we all go, no, it never does this. So I think we should be getting behind that. It's finally doing the ideal.
Okay, so here's what I say about it. And I made a post about this where I understand both sides. Like, okay, if you look at the nature of the law, is it violating freedom of association? Yes. Is it violating private property rights? Yes, it is. But it's all about context. Mm-hmm. Because, yes, technically, the business does have the right to discriminate for whatever reason it deems. However, in the context that the federal government has clearly a corporatist agenda to push the vaccine on the general population and to coerce businesses, as we saw with the vaccine mandate, which apparently to some people is not a vaccine mandate because you can test.
You can get tested, man. In a mandate.
It's the most bizarre thing. And it's like you're completely missing the point if you're arguing over trivial semantics like that. But regardless, in the context that is the clear and clear goal that the federal government is trying to do to coerce businesses, I understand the argument where, okay, in this specific case with all of this, we will make the trade-off that, yes, private property rights will be violated, but it's in the, I hate to use this phrase, greater good, because it's such a toxic phrase, but it's almost applicable to prevent the federal...
Everything's toxic for libertarians. I mean, God, they are some autistic motherfuckers.
Right, but
love them. But
and again, like, I understand the other side, and I don't say they're wrong, but it's about trade-off. It's about, yes, these rights are being violated, but do you want the federal government to have the precedent to say that now we know for sure that we can push a corporatist agenda and coerce people to follow our agenda in order to live their everyday life? So I honestly, I don't take a side or the other. I understand the merit of both. Yeah.
Let's talk ideological history. Before you guys were monarchists and Hoppians and you know based, what were you guys before? Like, what were you before this? Caleb, go first because you're on the far right side. I'm on the left. I don't like this. I've never been on the left my entire life.
Physically remove this guy.
I mean, I'm sorry for ruining all the formatting.
That's fine.
I almost found one and put it on. I owned at one time 11 Reagan Bush 84 t-shirts.
Were they at least different colors?
No, it was the exact same gray t-shirt with Reagan Bush 84 in red and blue and then solid gray.
You heard of laundry, dude?
Why do laundry?
I wear the same shirt every day.
What is laundry? My woman does that.
One every 11 days. I got to do one laundry load every 11 days.
Exactly. I also had a tank top for special occasions. That was me in high school. Like literally my senior, it was a website did a deal, buy 3 shirts, get 15 free. So I bought 18 of these T-shirts, gave away a bunch, and kept 11. So that's where I came from.
Wow, that is an overload. My brain can't even process that.
As hardline conservative as you can possibly get, like right on that neocon, not neocon line. My dad, I love him to death. He texted me on the anniversary of the bombings of the atomic bombings. Like that was an anniversary he wanted to acknowledge. We're working on him. My mom, on the other hand, is a full-blown like do not fight back pacifist. So
that's gotta be fun as Thanksgiving.
They make it work. I don't know how, but they do. And then I grew up in Western Washington, about half an hour outside Seattle. So my dad and we moved from Texas. We were just this beacon of conservatism in the heart of one of the most liberal places in the entire country. So that's probably why I was a little heavy into the conservatism. Was I more of a reaction to what was around me. And then I moved down to Florida, saw the light, went to school down here. What?
It's the best thing in the union.
Oh,
everyone
absolutely.
should move here. Everyone cool should move here. I had to.
Yes. I moved down to Florida. I spent some time in Europe working with a Christian organization, doing some aid work out there. Came down here, went to school, got married, and I just kind of, from 2016 to now, became very disillusioned with democracy in general. But kind of recognizing that there's always going to be power. And so looking at it from a historical perspective, the best thing any leader could do for the benefit of their country was not die for a really long time. As long as they did that and hardly anything else, the country did great. Like looking at Roman emperors, who were the best ones, the ones who lived the longest. So just providing that stability is the most important thing a leader can do to their country. And I think monarchy is the way to go for that over an election cycle or anything like that. So.
Fair enough. Harpian. That's someone to call you because you don't have a name listed. What was your ideological history?
So, my earliest political experience in 8th grade, I voted for John McCain in this pseudo election we had in our middle school. Like, not because I knew anything, but I always had right-leaning, what's the word that escapes me? Demeanor. And it just felt right. I don't know why. But just when I heard liberal stuff and like when I heard family friends talking about liberal things, and then like, that doesn't sound right. So even though I knew nothing about politics, I had this inclination. And then once I started knowing more, like I was in college, I was like very like cookie cutter mainline Republican, like kind of like what you were saying, the Reaganite Republican, not nearly on the cult level you were, but pretty close. Talking, thinking the Constitution was the greatest thing, originalism, all that stuff. And I was more of a enforcing morality using the state, all of that stuff. And then around my senior year, I started moving more libertarian because I understood that the state had no incentive to enforce morality. So, and that the best way to implement that were through social institutions and through community, through religion, especially. So I was more of a conservatarian type. And then 2020 happened. And then I saw how predatory the state became. And I understood that the state had no incentive to help the population. And in fact, it had an incentive to damage them, to create chaos. I mean, we saw this with the BLM riots, that they were not straight out doing it, but they were obviously fomenting the riots. And then I became disillusioned with the police because I saw that they were allowing the rioters to riot while arresting the people that were trying to defend themselves. And then the one job that the state has, like if you like go to a barren minarchist view, where the state protects your liberties from enemies, foreign and domestic. This is a clear case where there is a domestic enemy that is destroying private property and is threatening people and beating them. And the cops are like, no, just let them do it. Let them have a ball. Or like, who was that mayor in Portland when it was Chas Chop? It will be like a summer of love, which is the most cringe shit I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, so I became very disillusioned, and I was then a minarchist. And then what took me along the lines to anarchy was first reading Bastiat's The Law. And seeing how when states form, they devolve into people misappropriating them to serve their own interests. And then I read Rothbard's Anatomy of the State. And
I was the reverse. I read Anatomy of the State, then The Law.
That's wow. The Law must have been like child's play.
it was, but
it
put the anti-tax stuff in more of a palatable language for
sure. And like at Anatomy of the State, it showed very clearly that the state was creating these false necessities for the state's existence, and that it's a predatory organization that develops all of these apparatuses like the intellectual class and the elites and all of this to perpetuate its existence. And I was still not sold. I was like, I understand all the criticisms of the state, but I'm still cannot jump the shark. And then I read, which I think is Hoppe's greatest work, Getting Libertarianism Right. And for lack of better words, it was like reading porn, because like everything I understood about what the nature of libertarianism should be was there. The fact that it is a naturally right-leaning ideology because it accepts the natural order, and that society should evolve organically. Kind of like what Edmund Burke was saying, that's the path that society should be built on, that the society should take. And also that in order to have a liberty-oriented society, you need those social institutions to stabilize society outside of the state, but also that libertine and high time preference lifestyles should be discouraged. That yes, you should not initiate force on them, because as long as they're being peaceful, they are, there's no reason to arrest them or to initiate force on them. But you have to understand that when people are engaging in these lifestyles, they are creating a society that will not be self-reliant, and a state will be incentivized to arise from the chaos that will ensue from a libertine-oriented society. And what finally convinced me was Hoppe's argument that if you recognize private property, then a state cannot exist, because the state, by its existence, violates private property rights through the expropriation of taxes in order to maintain the services for even defense of your liberties. So then I kind of like sat back on it, and it's like, it's so hard to, it's the jump from the existence of the state to anarchism. It's such a drastic paradigm shift that it's not an easy thing to undergo. But I finally took that, and the world, it's absolutely different. The way you see things, it's like when you read the Machiavellians, and you understand that ideologies don't mean diddly squat. It's about power struggles, and that ideology is just a tool.
I just finished that book this month, and it's,
and just like when you read that, it's such a paradigm shift that everything you see, you can dig below the layers and see like the inner workings of everything. And it's especially fun because I'm a grad student, and so I have classes, and I'm taking my political theory course like classical political theory course, and today I was arguing that, that democracy is a failed system and that it's an oligarchy of demagogues, and that, like, the way I describe it, it's democracy is the cynicism of a person's ability to rule themselves, but their unyielding faith to govern others. So it's like such a democracy as a system has so many oxymorons. It has so many contradictions within it that if you just dig below the surface beyond what we're propagandized over, it's such a nonsensical ideology.
I'm changing the title of the video to "Democracy is Cringe" stream.
Sure.
My name for it was post gym stream, so I'm gonna just fix that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I probably misspelled democracy, but speech impediment, just like what are you gonna do? My political experience, I've always been on the right. This is the first legit book. It wasn't like a kid's book I read. It's Sean Hannity's "Deliver Us from Evil." It's a signed copy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I stole it. I stole it from my park. It was sitting down a bench, and I'm like, "This is mine now." So Sean Hannity, I stole Sean Hannity's book. I went from Sean Hannity to Steven Crowder to Ben Shapiro, and I went for voted Trump. Was a hardcore Trumper. I mean, I got like 3 hats and T-shirts. Went debated all my family and friends. Like, I was Trump the moment he came down the escalator. I was like, Trump train, let's do it. And all my family and friends were like crazy people. And I would go to my friend's house, and they'd be in my friend had like a LAN party, and they all be in the living room playing on the computers, playing games, and I'd be in the other room with the parents debating. They're like, Caleb, you're AFK. I'm like, yeah, but he's saying Trump is terrible, and I gotta correct him. I'm over here like how old was I? That was 8. It was 4 years ago, so I was 17. I was 19 years old, something like that. And I don't know nothing. I'm an idiot. I was just saying things like, we gotta build a wall because brown people on the other side, and not bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure I used better language, but that was part of my argument.
I mean, to be fair, the wall is a prudent measure against brown people. There's been worse things.
Yes, it's historically so in the work.
Yeah. It worked for China. I mean, they never had any problems with the Mongols ever again.
Nope, never.
Not one.
It was over. Not
Stupid
one.
Mongolians.
Yeah. And then I went from next election rolled around. I'm like, okay, Trump was terrible. That was nonsense. That was just, there was memes, and that was it. And I want more than memes. And my friend was like, yo, you should go look at Joe Jorgensen. So I went from Trump to Jorgensen to found Tom Woods. I'll see what on Tom Woods said one time. I'm like, this is my guy, Tom Woods. He's got it. And from Tom Woods, I found Michael Malice, Dave Smith, and I was like, okay, well, I guess anarchism. And within about, I would say, a 6 months period of going from maybe a year, if I stretch it out, year from Trump to anarchist, but probably 6 months from like, okay, conservative, libertarian to anarchist. Like, it was just boom, there. And it's like, well, that's it. This is the bottom, I think. And now I'm going to the post-libertarian people and this monarchist stuff. Okay, maybe it's not the bottom. Maybe a little bit more to read and learn here. But yeah, I love it. There's so many books to read. I mean, I love reading and I love audiobooks. And it's like I have all these books to read now. And it's like, this is what I'm talking about. This is something to do. And I started a podcast. Like, I'm going to learn these books. I'm going to learn with people and showcase my learning so I can see where I've come from in a year and a half. And I could also people learn along the way. And it's been fun. I got to talk to Pete Quinones about the AC on libertarianism. How much more? Like, I opened the podcast between the quote from the Bible about describing the Antichrist. And it was like, all libertarians the Antichrist. I gotta say that was awesome. I got Jason Stapleton coming on tomorrow night. Cool. And I'm gonna open the with Jason. I hate poor people. I hate that poor people are being bombed in Yemen. How much money do I need to make to stop that? Just gonna throw in with the whole just don't be poor, bro. It's gonna be awesome. Mm-hmm. There's this podcast and stuff and Twitter. Oh my gosh, me and like you guys on Twitter, me and people like Ace and my friend Daniel and Jacob. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it is fun.
Love it. Let's we've talked monarchism. We've talked let's talk religion a little bit.
Sure.
I'm Catholic. Hoppy in the middle is Catholic.
Yeah.
Caleb, what about you? What
I-
are you? Are you religious or are you atheist?
I'm repping my home church right now.
Victory! I have a 22 track there. That's a
Yeah.
good place.
Actually, I responded to anyone want to do a podcast while I was driving home from Wednesday night service. Don't show my wife this that I said I was on my phone while I was driving.
I posted the invite when I was driving. I missed I sat there. I missed the entire light. I rolled up and I'm like, listen, I could. Nope. Got behind me, got stuck. It was
And I was sitting at home like a good boy.
Well, there you go. My dog is trying to make an appearance.
Doggo.
This is Shadow. Say hi to the internet.
Hello.
There you go.
Aww.
I am Protestant. Part of the Assemblies of God, though not fully convinced on everything they say either. But I try not to. Yeah. Protestant general umbrella.
Yep. I used to go to a family worship center in Lakeland.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there, and I was always kind of looking at Catholicism, going down that whole like watching Mr. Bear, and I believe in evolution, and so I'm like, what can I still like keep that in line with science and religion? And so I found Catholicism. Like these people, they got a lot of cool stuff. Mr. Bear and Matt Fradd started going down the line, and then it was post-election. My pastor did a sermon on Romans 13. And I was like, well, all this is bullshit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I left mid-service, went out to the lobby, got on my phone and emailed the pastor, the priest at the local Catholic church in my city, and was like, yep, that's where I'm going. I set up a meeting with him, met with him the next day, and started RCIA. My luck in Bartow, where I live, it was the St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. And so I'm like, oh, sweet, Aquinas, like my guy. Let's do this. And I found a guy. Awesome. Yeah, it's been great. I love him. Everyone there is old. I'm like the youngest person there who's not a kid. And so it's fun. I love old people, and they like me enough to keep me around. So it's fun. What about you? Are you Credo Catholic or you join up later?
Wait, what?
You a Credo Catholic copy or you join up later? Like you convert or you cradle?
Oh, so I was baptized Catholic, and I went to Catholic elementary school and middle school. Then I went to a non-denominational Christian school, which means Baptist.
Yeah,
let's be real. It means Baptist.
Yeah, that means yeah.
Yeah. So the first day at school, I was on the bus, and the girl who was next to me, she was in 8th grade. She asked me, "What denomination are you?" And I said, well, I'm Catholic. And she's like, my daddy says they're not Christians and not going to hell. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a garbage 4 years. And, so I was going through my theology classes, and I did not have enough foundation in the Catholic faith to really put any defense of the Catholic faith. So I started to doubt the Catholic Church, and I didn't officially leave it, but I was kind of swayed away to more Protestant viewpoints. So I was considering myself like an evangelical Catholic, let's say, because yes, I was baptized as a Catholic, but I held more evangelical views. And then, so I was that for, 8 years. And then it was probably 3 months before I came here to grad school, and I felt a calling back to the church. I felt a calling back to the tradition, to the church that was instituted by Christ on St. Peter, and I missed it. And so I've been going to mass more, like really diving in depth with the catechism, like praying, and like I said earlier in the string, praying the rosary in Latin, really fully diving myself in, and I couldn't be happier. Like I really missed it, and I really missed the communion with being in communion with the church, and especially the Catholic Church that we have here on campus. Well, not Catholic Church, but the Catholic Center is an awesome group. Everyone is great there. Our father is great there. The campus minister is great. Yeah, it's a great community. Nice. So I'm very happy to be back. back with it.
Nice. There's
That's awesome.
something great about. I have a friend who just moved to Maryland, and he's church hunting. And he's talking about it. He's like, I gotta find a place where like I have people I like, they're my age. There's a Wednesday night small group, and I'm gonna go to it probably for 4 or 5 months. Here, the pastor soon have to find a new place.
Yeah,
and it's like I can't imagine being in a circumstance where you have to go somewhere and wait till you find out if you agree with someone or not. The fact that I could be anywhere, almost anywhere in the world, and go, hey Siri, Catholic church near me, and I know where I could find somewhere. That's very nice and very comforting to have like that network around me to know where to go. If we're in communion, if I want to move, I don't have to worry about finding a new. I have to find a new church, but I don't have to worry about finding a new church having to move. Oh, I really liked him, but he doesn't believe in the Trinity. Now I gotta go somewhere else. I don't have to deal with that. That's nice.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, and one thing I like is that I recently found a bunch of streams that not only did they stream mass, but they also streamed the adoration, like a 24/7 adoration stream, which I really like. So you have there, even if you don't find a church that you like, you have all of these options to still commune with God. Of course, as Catholics, it's difficult for us because we have to receive the Eucharist, so that's kind of a roadblock. But still, like even all Christians, that you have this enormous tool called the internet where you can find, if you don't have a church near you, you can still commune with God online, and you can still hear the word with a pastor that you like online, even if it's somewhere across the country. And I think that to not take advantage of that resource is a huge mistake.
Oh yeah. I mean, every Sunday, even if I go to mass, I'm still gonna watch Bishop Barron's stream, like every Sunday. Why miss a homily? It's a good homily. Okay, what about you? You go to Victory. Victory only has one campus, right? Or did they have multiple locations? 2. I wasn't aware of that.
Yep. So there's a campus there's the main campus, which is on the north end of Lakeland. And that's where like Wednesday night service, and there's a Sunday morning service there as well. But on Sunday mornings, there's a campus on the south side of Lakeland, and it meets in the Cobb movie theater, right there in the Lakeside Village. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, I love the Village, man. Place.
So we meet in there on Sunday morning in the movie theater. And my wife is the children's pastor. There. Yeah, one of the reasons I'm not Catholic is my wife is the ordained minister in the AG. So I don't know what your guys' views on that are, but
I mean, I'm legally speaking, I'm an ordained minister. Before I became Catholic, I got ordained before wedding ceremonies for a quick buck. So it's how much trouble I had for religion.
Nice. And so that's the campus I'm at on Sundays.
Nice.
It's just right by me. Yeah, and like you said, the internet, absolutely. My dad is a pastor up outside of Seattle, and I can watch his services and be connected with the people who I grew up in church around. And that's an incredible feeling because I live 3,000 miles away from all of them, but I'm still able to keep in touch in the church setting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is really, really cool.
Online streams, I love them. I love that I can watch my sets anywhere, but the comment section sometimes on a stream, like I don't know if you've ever went to a live chat during a stream. Like it's a mix of sometimes you get it's a big enough search, you have cringe atheists in the live chat, which is its own problem, but at least they're there. And you have so many boomer ants posting a paragraph, and it's this is a WhatsApp song. You maybe should be doing something else.
Or you get the people who think they're just texting one other person, which is my favorite.
I have not, I must admit it, but when I was really upset with my church and just I never was an atheist, but there was a 6 month span where I was I don't know if any of this is weird. It was maybe it's all bullshit. I was my church. I hated my church's WhatsApp service, and at one point I went to the live chat and I shit posted the live. I shit posted the WhatsApp group, and I'm that's not something I should have done. I regret doing that, but at the same time, I still don't like any of those people, and they're all gone. They're all gone now. And so I was right, but I was not the time and place to go to a live chat with my family members on there and then be like, "These guys suck." It was probably just. I don't know. When you're young, you do stupid things, and with the internet, you do a lot of stupid things online.
When you're human, you do stupid things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be real.
Man,
Yeah.
don't put me down. Put it on me. I'm hoping when I get like 24, stupid stuff stops. That's what I'm hoping for. Don't put none of that like personhood
doesn't.
thing on me. How old are you guys? Am I the youngest guy in the stream?
I'm 24.
I'm 25.
25? 23.
Oh.
I keep ending up being the youngest guy where I go. Like I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Christian anarchists. I'm like, am I the youngest guy? Everyone's like, I'm married with kids. And I'm like, dang it. Youngest guy again.
I am not married. I don't have a kid. So
Married, no kids. Y'all need to work on that. I need to work on it too. Be fruitful and multiply is the first command.
Oh man,
what a terrific command.
They ain't doing quarantine they ain't doing COVID lockdowns have been weird. I ever gone on a date in a year and a half. And last day I went on with that. I've gone on 3 dates off of Tinder, and one of them didn't show, which was his own thing. I ended up going outside and went to a homeless guy. Like, hey man, you want a sandwich? Let's go get a sandwich. So I had the money, and so he came and had a sandwich. Cool guy. The next one was at a park, and we walked around the park the entire time and hung out. It was cool. And then we're leaving, and she does that whole look down, look up, smile, and says, do you want to do anything else? My car's here. I'm like, nah, I got a Publix sub waiting for me. And I kind of hopped in my car and went to Publix. And I'm sitting in my car eating a sub. And I'm like, oh, I know what he wanted. The Holy Spirit protected me that day.
Yes, he did.
Incredible.
I just, on dating, so weird.
The Lord can work through a sandwich.
He walked through a pub sub, Florida communion.
I mean, he often does. Pub subs are amazing.
Okay,
true.
So my biggest cringe date was for Tinder, because then what else is Tinder for but cringe dates stories?
Yeah.
And apparently, this girl was a rabid leftist feminist. So that was a fun 3-hour screaming match that we had in the park.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that was interesting.
Caleb, what about you? You date your wife only, or do you have anybody you date before that?
I dated one girl before my wife, and that was a massive mistake. I had one rule: don't date until you graduate high school, and then I broke that rule, and it ended up being the biggest mistake of my life. But when I was first dating my wife, I'd only dated this one girl, and that was just a whole other issue. But with my wife, I didn't know how to ask a girl out because I never actually asked the first girl out. We just kind of started doing stuff. So with my wife, the only thing I could do that I knew, she was my friend on campus who had a car. I didn't have a car. Moved down from Seattle to go to school here.
What school?
So
if you don't mind me asking.
Southeastern, here in Lakeland.
That's cool.
And I would ask her to take me to Walmart, just if I wanted to hang out with her, because she was my friend who had a car on campus. And so those were it was about as Polk County as it gets, because our dates were literally just walking around in the aisles of Walmart. Do you need this?
That is
no.
So Polk County. That might be the most. I mean, born and raised here. That's the most Polk County I've ever heard in my life.
It just gets into your blood. So yeah, for about 3 months, the only date I took the girl I would eventually marry on was about every other week a trip to Walmart.
I mean, it worked. That's something.
Date
I mean,
girl to Walmart. All right.
I'm not glad I might have to
that
try that.
What can I say? It did work. Been married for almost 3 years now, based off of going to Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Nice.
I know there's some real quick local talk. Sorry, Hoppy in. Polk County is weird because we have I think we have 3 colleges. We have Polk State, you have Southeastern, you have there's multiple Polk State campuses. There's but go ahead.
There's 3 or 4,
yeah, and we had the lamest scene. We have one
terrible.
club, and it's Wild Greg's Saloon with a bull, has a mechanical bull. It's line dancing, and then we have one good pub, and it's depressing. I mean, I go there, but that's because it's the only place to go. It's like, how do we have this many colleges and be this lame at the same time? You think we have it's more people drinking in the movie theater lounge than there is at the pub? That should not be the case. It is. We need cool stuff here. Like Lakeland's the fastest growing city in the country, I think, and it's still lame.
There's alligators that could eat your golf cart. That's about all we got going for you.
Mosquitoes, humidity, alligators. That's all we got. We live in the swamp, and it's like this is. Like you notice all these colleges and all these young people going to Walmart and Publix on dates, and you're just like, this is what they have to do. There's no other option.
It's that, or hey, we could pay $300 a person and go to Disney World.
Yeah, that's why everyone I know got engaged at Disney World. Everyone I know almost got engaged there. Cause that's the only option.
That was my backup plan.
Walmart, Disney World.
The duality of that.
That is the countiest thing I've ever heard. That is, oh god. Yeah, Victory is a cool place. I've been there a few times. I went to a Petra concert at Victory.
Oh, that's
okay.
Cool.
Yeah. They do a lot of really good events.
Oh yeah. I love it, but I hate driving by there on a Wednesday. When I used to go to the movies on Wednesday night. Biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Because I come out and I'm like, I'd be mad at these people. I'm like, I already know you. Like, they get to our church, and I'm like, you need to move your ass, you heathen. It's a stop sign. It's a stop sign, not a red light. And I'm just like, this guy at church, and I'm yelling at them because I'm late for a movie theater because of my own dumb choices.
Yeah, the Victory has a similar age demographic, I think, to your church. So the people getting out of there, not the quickest drivers.
Yeah. So what books do you guys? Are you guys currently reading any books? You doing anything fun reading wise or?
Yeah. So right now I'm reading The Failure of the New Economics by Henry Hazlitt, which is just basically like a paragraph by paragraph critique of Keynes's general theory of employment, interest, and money. And the last book I read was Suicide of the West, which is fantastic. Anything by James Burnett is phenomenal. Before that, Notes on Democracy. And then I have a full stack. Like I have America's Great Depression by Murray Rothbard. I have New Constitution.
That was my first. One of my first Rothbard books was included on Audible, and so I walked through that when I actually named the States.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, I gotta hear more of this guy. This was included. Okay.
Nice. What else do I have? I have. There's this really good book called "On Being a Christian" by Hans Kuhn, which is really phenomenal. But I just read the first chapter, but I agree with it full-heartedly because it said that right now religion has a crisis because it is trying to adapt to the as culture that is becoming more liberal, which is being counterproductive because it's getting to the point where people are saying, why should I commune with this church and with God if I can live in the same culture without this church? So it's the church is trading, and church and religion is trading its integrity in order to try to fit in with the culture. And he's pointing out, like, this is counterproductive. Like, the religion will die and we'll just kind of get lost if we do not have integrity, if we do not hold what makes religion, worth believing and following, which is that it is a distinct worldview and a distinct moral and ethical code that is apart from the way the culture is going now.
That sounds like a good book. What was it called? I'm gonna write it down.
It's called On Being a Christian. Oh, hold on one second. I have it.
Yeah, I'm going to jot this down as well.
Yeah, it's this. It's On Being a Christian by Hans Kuhn. It's also a tome. It's 700 pages tome like this, On Being a Christian.
There you go.
I'm gonna add to my list.
So, like, thumbing through the table of contents, I can just kind of give you so, like, the first chapter is called "The Challenge of Modern Humanisms," And then another section is like, what's special to Christianity? Christianity in a social context, Christianity and Judaism, and then different things like community of faith, practice of the church. So it has a lot of good stuff. Like if you wanna understand like what being a Christian is in everyday life, like this is probably like the Bible for like everyday Christian ethics and like living your faith in a practical way.
Nice. I'm currently going through. I try to do one religious book, one fun book, but I can't keep it to just two. So I'm doing Democracy God That Failed because I got Zared from In Democracy coming on. I'm gonna hop in to talk about it. I'm working my way through Ayn Rand's epistemology because I love Rand. I disagree with her on so much, but I love reading it because like in my opinion it's the best naturalist like absent of faith philosophy there is. And then I'm doing Scott Hahn's Covenant Communion, the covenant theology of it's like a Pope Benedict, which is pretty good. Anything Scott Hahn writes, I'll read it. Like he's my dude. That is my guy. Scott Hahn is the guy to read.
Cool.
What about you, Caleb?
I am reading. Well, I kind of jumped headfirst into this whole anarcho side of politics. So I'm actually halfway through both Anatomy of the State and Getting Libertarianism Right. Right now. Yeah, I'm loving them both so far. Just finding the time to read them. And then I'm reading Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. First of his sci-fi books. I read the third one in college. Really loved it. Wanted to read the first two. Freedom Betrayed. Which is Herbert Hoover writing about the start and fighting of World War II and how it was all FDR's fault that we were involved. And my class is actually reading The Magician's Nephew, the class that I teach. So I'm reading that.
What age group of class do you teach?
I teach 6th grade. So I have some 7th graders in there. But my focus is 6th grade. Nice. Every subject.
Nice. Cool. I miss teaching. I taught in Japan for a year after graduation. I was English as a second language teacher.
Weeb.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I'm jealous. You got to go to Japan.
Nice.
Yeah, teach
it was awesome.
Japanese.
What's that?
Yeah, on. Excuse me, sir. Where is my friend Jacob was wanting me to wear a mask because of COVID.
This is Florida. We believe in freedom here.
That's right.
Freedom?
You Pennsylvania loser.
What's that,
Pennsylvania loser?
Move to a good state and find out.
Yeah, that's right. It's not this one though, because we're full. I'm tired of people moving here.
You're just not allowed to vote for 5 years. Sorry, that's the rule.
Right.
What a tragedy.
I honestly, I fit my mind in this whole like wanting people to vote thing. I used to be like, nah, once I just think voting is bad. People should still vote so we can make a difference. And now I'm like, no, I don't want anybody in my state voting but me and a few other people. So I send my voting messages like all my friends and family stop voting. Like I was with my boss the other day, and he was going off about he hates Trump. He's just a boomer liberal kind of guy, and he's going off on all these things. And I'm just there here listening to him kind of go off. I'm like, I'm not getting engaged, not going to engage. I like my job. And finally, he's like, "What do you say?" I'm like, he asked me a question, and I'm like, I just think democracy sucks, and every vote is bought with a bribe. He's like, well, that's illegal. I'm like, yeah, but you don't think offering to increase someone's welfare is a bribe? He's like, I mean, it kind of is. And then he stopped the conversation, and it's like, yes, good, we're done. I don't want to talk anymore.
So one of the most amusing things is that when you say something that is so outside of the paradigm, people don't know how to respond.
Yeah,
like
I love
just
it.
saying that democracy is a failed system. Everyone's like, okay.
Fastest.
Well, they just don't know how to respond because they it's like, and that's the thing that like what you're doing, Caleb, and like what we do on Twitter. It's like, yes, it's cringe as fuck. I will admit that, but like it's exposing people to newer and newer ideas. And like, that's what I try to do on campus. Like, of course, I try to be pragmatic about it and, things like that. But even in my classes, like when I talk about this stuff, like I can tell like people have never heard it because I hear the deafening silence that's in the classroom. They're like, I don't know what to do with this.
And it's crazy that we don't hear about how bad. I mean, it's not crazy. History is written by the victors. Democracy has won every fight that it's been in so far. So of course, all our history is going to be pro-democracy. But like when you ask someone in the Western world who are the greatest thinkers, like Socrates is one who comes to mind. Often, father of Western philosophy. What was he executed for again?
Criticizing
and corrupting the youth by telling them that democracy sucked.
Oh yeah, and the folly of democracy. He was convicted by like 240 votes, and then was put to death by 300 votes.
Well,
because he dared, like he decided to troll them. I don't know what. I don't remember exactly what his answer was.
Socrates is my favorite person to ever live. Sorry, Jesus.
Yeah.
But
who's Jesus?
Yeah, come on. No, I love
talking about the big boys.
I used to hate talking, like, I don't know, talking politics is always weird to me, and I used to despise it because I got so heated and things. But now that I kind of like know, oh well, I don't care about what these people are saying because it's not what they care about. Like we were talking to people about politics, it's not something they actually care about. It's something a passive interest for them. And she was, they don't really care, and I don't really care either. So I went to my friend's graduation party. He was hardcore Protestant, hardcore, like, government is good kind of guy. And I wore my hoodie I made. Democracy is cringe, bro. Which spawned into me sitting at the head of a table outside with 14 guys all yelling things at me. And my favorite one was this one guy who I was kind of just going... I was him for a while, and he walked away and brought his friend back. This is the guy who said democracy sucks. That's how I was introduced me to. That guy still doesn't know my name. He knows me as Anarchy Bro, which is acceptable, I guess. And I'm talking to this guy about like Israel and Afghanistan stuff. And as one guy, when the other table, he pipes up, "You don't like government? Well, what about like Jim Crow laws? You like it when the government got one of those?" I'm like, "You mean the same laws the government made?" I broke him. He didn't say a word in the rest of the party. He was silent. It was amazing. Just to like break him. He's like, "What do you mean Jim Crow laws were laws by the government?" It was awesome.
That's hilarious.
Crazy.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it's so much fun being like an ANCAP kind of guy where you're like, oh yeah, you get a like, I don't know, when you watch things now, I look at it in so much of a different. Like I was watching Star Wars the other day. I did a whole bunch of Star Wars podcasts, and I can't even perceive Star Wars the same way because I'm like, who's the good guys in this again? We have partisan soldiers, and rebel allies made by people who lost their power and want it back. It's just partisan versus partisans the entire time.
Dooku.
And the good guys, yeah, he's might be the only good guy, and he got corrupted and hijacked. Like even Mace Windu is the bad guy in my opinion.
But speaking of Count Dooku, it's so interesting that Count Dooku doesn't have Sith eyes, which means he never fully gave into the dark side. He was using it in a pragmatic way because in his heart, he deeply believed in what he was fighting for. He was not fighting for power's sake like the Sith does. He was trying to wrestle power away from a corrupt republic to get sovereignty back for the systems, which is it's really interesting.
I'm all on board the Dooku train. And he's nobility, so...
Yeah,
go monarchy.
Like he's the best. He's the best character. He is my favorite character, and he's played by a great actor. This is all the good stuff. Like, I mean, I did a month of Star Wars streams, a podcast, and it's been a lot of fun. I got to talk to Scott Hole about the prequels. It was incredible.
That was cool.
I think, man, you gotta start a podcast. It's so much fun because you can talk. Like, I drove home to Zim. I'm like, I'm bored and want to talk to people. Let me send out a tweet and just get people on here that are cool, and I can talk for an hour and 9 minutes to people who are monarchs and Hoppians.
See, like
this is the coolest thing.
If I would do a podcast, which I am considering, I would not do an interview style as much. I would want to take like, all right, let's take this book, let's separate it into 5 seconds, and let's just like long haul discuss it, like what Tom Woods does, like when he broke down Anatomy of State, and he spent like 40 minutes talking about it, and just breaking it down into like a bite-sized thing you can listen to. And if you want to read the entire thing, like links in the description below.
Yeah.
So, like, the first book I would want to do is Economics in One Lesson, because I think that is the quintessential book to understand economics in an organic and very natural way, because that's what I feel a lot of people don't have, is that economics is not that complicated to understand. Yes, to like put it into practice and like write policies and things like that, that's one thing. Understand it as an organic thing and to understand the praxeological model, Economics in One Lesson is the perfect book.
I loved it.
Anyone can read it and understand just by that one lesson, which is that you need to look at the long-term effects of things, not just what it achieves in the immediate, but you understand things a lot better, and it's something that anyone could grasp.
Yeah, I mean, that's how my podcast started. It was a book club. You know, I still do the book club episodes, but I noticed that I didn't have the time to go through all the books I wanted to go through. And I'm like, I want to talk to this guy. I don't have a book for it. Sometimes like my favorite ones are when I can find a book. Right. I mean, I labeled the Adam Patrick interview a book club because we talk about the Bible, so I kind of see my way into that one. But
like, yeah, having 66 books though. I'm not 66. How? Wait,
the correct number.
Nah, we don't mess with that.
Okay, no.
The correct number.
Okay,
it's like my man Tobit. You gotta respect Tobit because I love that name. Okay. Sure. I have a friend who is hardcore Protestant. Okay, this is a little side story. My friend Barak, good friend of mine, hardcore Protestant. Name is Barak. His parents is also Protestant. Named after the book Baruch in the Bible, which everyone I hear is pronounced it as Baruch. And when everyone calls him Baruch, he goes, "No, it's Barak. It's spelled the exact same." And it's like, you're named after a Catholic book, and you're gonna just butcher the pronunciation of your own name. It bugs me now because he's like, "No, it's Barak." I'm like, "You spell it like the name in the Bible, and it's Baruch." What's not in my Bible? It's like, come on, dude.
I won't try to argue with you guys about how to pronounce non-canonical books. Don't worry.
Actually, speaking of Protestantism, I remember that one post I had on Twitter where I said Protestantism
is low time preference.
It's high time preference.
High time preference. I always get this confused.
Which people were complaining. Religion in general, it is a low time preference thing. But my point was like, compared to Catholicism, Protestantism is high time preference, because in order to be Catholic, in order to be a good standing Catholic, you need to observe feast days. You need to attend Mass. You need to receive the Eucharist. There's all of these rituals and feasts that you have to keep to in order to be a good standing Catholic. Whereas Protestantism, like let's say mainstream Protestantism, kind of doesn't have those things. So you need to be a lower time preference person to be a practicing Catholic rather than to be a Protestant.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so I actually want to like write like a Substack or something, like diving into that, because that sounds interesting. Oh, I triggered so many people though.
I would read that too.
Because like they I don't know, that people, and we're all guilty of this. They're like in their own little bubbles where they only understand what you are saying from their own perspective, how they understood it, and you're like trying to like, no, this is what I mean, and they're like, no, that's not what you mean. It's what I'm saying you mean is exactly what you mean. I'm like, no, just have patience with us.
I feel like interfaith dialogue between Christian denominations has been frozen for at least 300 years. Like, no Protestant.
We stopped killing people, and I think that's progress.
Yeah. But I think we stopped making progress at that point. I think, I don't think very many Protestants have a good idea. Like, when I talk to other Protestants, the complaint about Catholicism is Luther's complaints about Catholicism, which I'll joke about and meme about, but I understand things have changed in the last 500 years or so.
I gotta say, like, it's weird given the people like Cameron Batuzzi and Matt Fradd are the two biggest YouTube channels for like Christianity. And they constantly are talking about Catholicism and Protestantism, the differences, and having debates and discussions, and it's awesome. I was really hoping when I saw it that would trickle down into like the Twitter and other people's space. I'm like, no, I was disappointed yet again with people.
Okay, so two things. One, what do you think is more autistic, libertarian infighting or interfaith fighting on Twitter?
Oh.
What do you think is more interfaith? Interesting.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that one. That is definitely interface debating. That is so autistic.
Interesting.
Terrible.
And second, sorry, go ahead, Kate.
I would say interfaith because, I mean, again, my perspective on the interdenominational stuff is, you know what? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you are you worshiping Jesus? Are you not clearly a heretic? Like, we're not doing any Arianism, Gnosticism. Great.
Right.
I'm happy with that.
Right. And there is a disconnect because it is the Catholic Church did come out and said that, yes, Protestants are our brothers and sisters in faith. They are not in communion with God's church, but they are still brothers and sisters in faith because they accepted the grace of Christ and his sacrifice on the cross. But I feel like a lot of the criticisms and prejudice that is thrown at Catholics and Catholicism are based on just fundamental misunderstandings of what Catholicism is. The two most common things: idolatry, because we venerate Mary. We do not worship her. We venerate her and we ask her to pray for us. It is completely different. Whatever.
We like our moms more. That's all.
Bunch of mama's boys. I get it. It started in Italy.
Caleb, keep your search history to yourself. Anyway, the second thing is that we are people who practice salvation through works, which is explicitly a heresy. It's the heresy of Pelagius that was already in the 5th century, was already decided that no, we as Catholics do not believe that. We of course believe that a faith without practice, without rituals, and without keeping a strict standard is dead, and that in order to foster our faith, we practice those things. But we explicitly do not believe that if we go to church, take the Eucharist, pray the rosaries, we will tip the scales in our favor to gain favor with God to get into heaven. Yeah. That is explicitly not what Catholics believe. And yet every time I speak with Protestants or any other non-denominational Christians and the criticisms that they levy against Catholicism, it is based on those two things. Yeah. And I feel like that, and
this is why I don't do it online. There's no point in doing it online.
And the mass media and a lot of people perpetuate this because the Catholic Church is the world's oldest institution that challenges the monopoly of the state. And usually what you see is that when religion falls in a country, the state takes its place. And right now it is the Catholic Church that stands as the primary vanguard against the state. Now, granted, with liberation theology and with Pope Francis, it's really rocky right now.
Y'all pick some weird ones.
Let's not get into that because we could talk for hours and hours about that. And
I'd love to have you two educate me on a Catholic's perspective on that, because I don't have
Pope's
one.
terrible. Look, Tom Woods is the best Catholic I know of besides Scott Hahn, and he criticizes the Pope, and it's amazing. And honestly, if you're a Catholic who doesn't criticize the Pope, I have an issue with you. Because I don't trust people who have the blind respect for authority. And for Catholics who worship the Pope, and not worship, but like venerate the Pope to a point where they can't disagree with him, I have issues because you're too much of a drone for me, and I don't want you to be.
Isn't there something about the Pope never being wrong?
So
no.
Yeah, so that's another thing where people misunderstand.
Just poking fun.
The autism is coming out. You got the autism coming out here.
Exactly. I know Catholicism a little better than that. Please give me just a smidge of credit.
Thank you.
No, I understand. So, but for people who don't know, for anyone that's watching, thankfully with Pope Francis, he's never invoked papal infallibility about Catholic doctrine.
Okay.
If that happened, That would be a huge problem. Right now, it's basically just like the Pope's opinion of implementing Catholic doctrine, which in liberation theology basically kind of adjacent to or towards like one world government and implementing government measures and like almost tangentially socialist measures in order to address things like poverty and the environment and things like that, which is, it is concerning, especially that the Catholic Church explicitly is against socialism because they say that it violates a man's ability to provide for his family through the mechanism of private property, and socialism violates that. And so liberation theory kind of like circumvents that. It's like it's not socialism, but like as we understand it, it's like usually state involvement perpetually grows and grows to the point where it's everything but it is socialism. So that is what's mostly concerning for Catholics like me and Caleb and Tom Woods especially expounds on that, is that Pope Francis is less and less a pope that expounds Catholic theology and expands in it, and more about the Catholic theology and how it's implemented into politics, which is concerning for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you want to read a good pope, Pope Benedict has a 2-volume series on the early church fathers that I highly recommend because he's great. He was a straight up theologian, like he was a Ratzinger. He was incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, the whole Pope stuff. Honestly, I like the fact that every Catholic I know personally criticizes the Pope. It's comforting. Yeah. I'm with the good kind of Catholics. Back to the whole Catholic Protestant debate thing. I have a friend of mine who's converting to Catholicism. He went on a race, like a trip around the 90 different countries for a business trip, and there were 4 Catholics. And after like 9 months, he's like, "Okay, I need to start looking more into this." And after about a year later, now he's doing RCI classes. He's getting into it. Coincidentally, almost everyone else in this race is also doing it.
Cool. God bless.
And his mom, all she knew about the Catholic Church is they're not really Christians because they worship Mary and they're Satanists. And so naturally, this has been some heated conversations.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing ever is that he called me up one day. He's like, "Hey, man, my family organized a debate where we had my uncle who's a Calvinist and my other uncle who left the Catholic Church to be a Baptist come over for dinner to debate me. Do you want to come over?" And I'm like, "Hell to the yes. Let's do it." I drove over to listen to like Day Spoke by Powerwolf. Like, let's do it. It's ready. And it walked in there and it was fun until the mom got involved because I started like arguing with her. And she's the kind of person that when you debate, she starts to cry. And I'm sitting here at my friend's house's dinner table making his mom cry. And I'm helping him. It was like, I need to leave. I'm going to leave. So I left, and he kept going. He's like, "Dude, you left me." I'm like, "Well, your mom was crying. What do you want me to do?" Like I can't. I showed her where she was wrong, and she cried. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The veneration of the saints thing, especially Mary, gets a lot of Protestants. It was early church synchronism. Some of it, not Mary, but like a lot of like the domains of the saints, as I understand it. It seems pretty similar to early church syncretism. But you also have the same thing with like when we celebrate Christmas. So it's kind of a double standard of, Protestants, if you're going to say, "Hey, we're not doing any saints," move Christmas back to late winter, like it says in the Bible, not December 25th, right after the winter solstice celebration all these pagans were having, and you wanted them to come to your party instead. Yeah. So, and I get it. Like you explained it really well, Caleb, to me. That kind of opened it, where it was the just asking someone to pray for you.
Yeah.
And that, like, again, I'm in my little Protestant bubble. I'd never heard that perspective on it.
Yeah.
I always went, there's no way they would worship other people, but this is a little odd.
Yeah, my argument for the praying for saints is like, it's actually what made the mom cry. Is he was like, "So what, you asked like dead people to pray for you?" I'm like, "Well, I don't believe people in heaven are dead, And I explained that point. It's like, okay, I agree with that. But why don't you go to Jesus? You know, like what, Jesus don't care about you enough now? You have to have some saints. I'm like, hey, you ever asked if one of yours to pray with you because you were stressed? Yeah, it's the same principle. But the dead, we already established they're not dead. And
they're just there.
Yeah, I got her in the contradiction, and she just started crying. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we as Catholics understand that death is not the end; it's a doorway.
Yeah.
So that if I don't explain it correctly, but we understand that saints are people we know for sure are in communion with God in heaven, and that they are alive with God in heaven. I think that's the Catholic understanding of sainthood, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. The saints are people the church has declared we know for a fact are in heaven. Beyond any doubt of that, we have. And one of the ways they confirm this is can a miracle be attributed to them after their deaths, which is its own. You know, you can question if you're questioning Protestant. I have faith in the church to get it pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much it. It's just like, yeah, we confirmed this guy's in heaven. We went up there, we checked. He's up there, he's chilling, and now you can talk to him. He's chilling. Your family, we can't confirm that because so many people. You know, it's a busy gate, but whatever.
It's only one door. It's a hole.
Yeah, purgatory takes some time, man. It's a little bit of a hassle.
This is a benefit of SpaceX commercializing space travel. We can canonize saints a lot faster. Because we can get up there faster.
What are you talking about? We can't get through the firmament.
I had a joke with my LCI teacher that it's like she's like, so what? He's trying to push me to go join the priesthood. Every one of my teachers puts me to join the priesthood, which is weird. And they were saying like, you should go join the priesthood. I'm like, if I do it, here's what's gonna happen. Like, what? I'm like, I'm gonna join the priesthood. I'm gonna go to Mars with Elon Musk because they're gonna need Catholics. Become the Bishop of Mars. Boom, patron saint of space travel. That's the 50-year plan. Patron saint of space travel, Bishop of Mars. Okay, like that right there. We got it. And they're like, they wanted to argue, but they're like, that's not impossible. It's just improbable.
See, my main thing about joining the priesthood, because I thought about it, is marriage. And I've seen priests that have had explicit exceptions from the Vatican. But it is difficult to get. And like that is one reservation I have, is that I do want to marry. I do want a family. I feel a calling for that. You know, that's my main thing.
That was mine too, and I realized it's not my choice, and I don't really have an option on that front anyway. So
am I thinking of a different group where you can get married and then become a priest?
Anglicans, but the Anglicans, there was someone.
Anglicans.
What it was is there was a bunch of them, and they all got subsumed into the Catholic Church because they rejoined, and the Catholic Church gave special dispensation for all their priests to rejoin the priesthood of the Catholic Church, but not they can keep their wives. I don't know if it's like this. I don't know if that's still because I think they all got subsumed in.
They can keep their wives.
Yeah,
that's
but
funny.
they all got subsumed in. So I don't know if there's still like that path where they can go from Anglican, get married, and go back in. They already got all assumed. But
the one thing worse than a married priest is divorce. Is that the official Catholic stance? Then
not the official one, but it's, you know, if you take the catechism and you bake it at 255 degrees with some lemon juice and Nicolas Cage that shit, yeah, it pops up. We've been going for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
I got work in the morning. Oh goodness.
My work tomorrow is weird because like they want me to come back to work, but everyone's out of the office with COVID, and they're like, "Can you like just go to the shed and clean it up?" It's like, no. But yeah, they're coming at 8. I'm like, okay, I'll sleep in, go in at 8. No one's gonna watch me. It'd be so insane. Let's plug our stuff and we'll get out of here. Bounce. Caleb, what can people find you at?
On Twitter, I'm Caleb bunch of numbers.
I'll find it for the description. I'll find it.
Yeah, I honestly don't know it. I thought you could change it later if I enjoyed being on Twitter, and you can't.
What? You can't change your handle?
Can you?
I'm pretty sure you can in the settings.
You could change your name, but I don't know if you can change.
Yeah, I know you can change your name. I don't think you can change your actual @
Hold on, let me. I'm gonna find you real quick on here. Here we go, Caleb.
Yeah.
I keep seeing that crown on your head as your hair.
No, that I don't have hair.
Yeah, I can see it now, but like the photo you have, I was like, the crown is like, did he? And like, I saw, I'm like, this dude frosted his
Yes,
tips.
you can.
You
So
can.
if you can see their username, you see where it says @_base Hopian. You can
Yeah.
click that. You can click that and change it under settings.
Fantastic. I'll change
Yeah.
that to something else.
You can, yeah.
Political Anarchy did that.
Cool.
Great.
For him. I got lucky. I made mine my Caleb Brown 549. Like I make everything, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's only 3 numbers.
Cool.
I can
Awesome.
accept that.
Cool.
Hopian, based
Yeah.
Hopian. That's where he's at.
Yeah, based_Hopian. That's where I'm at Twitter.
Guy who gained followers like a motherfucker. This one, boom. They get that one interaction with that libertarian chief dude, and it was just like, woo.
Oh, well, yeah, that was fun. Did you see that, Caleb? Did you see what happened on that?
When was that? When was it?
That was in like July. So like I was on Twitter for like less than a month, and I was like just started getting in with the libertarian circle, and I got involved with some of the drama with Tower Gang and Faketarians, and they started following me because I made memes about it and they liked it. And then Libertarian in Chief, you know that Twitter account?
Yep.
Okay, so he had an Ask Me Anything. And because there was all this controversy with Brandy Love and her getting kicked out, and libertarians are like, oh, come to us. And I just asked a question, and like, are you concerned about the Libertarian Party not actively, how did I ask it? Tolerating high temp preference lifestyles that threaten a liberty-oriented... Yeah. And he's like, I don't even understand what that means. And like a whole shitstorm of people quote tweeting him and commenting him. It was amazing.
I didn't understand what it meant either.
he follows me on Twitter, and it was a weird interaction. Like, I want to like this, but he follows me. I don't want to lose that follow.
And the best part was that so I forgot who. I think it was Mental Casanova tweeted that picture. And Todd chiped because he was added, and Libertarian in Chief like berated, and Michael Malice responded to it, was like, I don't think this is a good look, and I'm like, yes, yes,
nice,
yeah,
yes, I do remember that happening now when you brought up the confusing time preference stuff, because I remember being confused.
Yeah, so that was like my first like breaking the wall into the Twitter scene, and then like like I have 2,025 followers now in like less than 3 months, and I'm like, okay, sure, that's fun, but it's, yeah, but it's really fun. Liberty Twitter, you know, we make fun of them, you know, they're artistic fucks, yada yada yada, but they really are a great group, and they're really good allies to have. You know,
absolutely.
So I love, even the most artistic ones. I love them. I love Liberty Twitter. Great people.
Yeah, it's great.
I my problem with followers. I keep gaining and losing like at the same speed. Like I'll post something, I'll gain like 6 followers, and I'll lose 7. And it's like,
oh yeah, I noticed that whenever I post like very traditionally conservative social posts, I will lose followers. Like, there was one thing I had about it was about gay marriage, where I was talking about like, yes, it's a high time preference social institution that should not be promoted, and I lost followers on that. Or like my stance on like the nature of homosexuality, that it is a high time preference behavior, you know, and I lost followers because of that. And I'm like, you really didn't understand from my bio like what I am. Catholic.
You got that little Catholic flag there.
Like, really? You didn't get that? Hopian? You know, like the physical remove guy? Really? You didn't get that? All right. But it's like, it's fine. It's like, I'll lose like 7 followers, and then I'll have another post, and I'll gain 12 or 15. And then I will gain followers from that thing, which is good. It's a good sorting mechanism, because I want people to follow me that, you know, I can have like cookie cutter libertarian takes, but also I can forward like a more productive paleo libertarian message, which I had that tweet earlier, Caleb, where I said that the paleo path is the only way forward to a sustainable libertarian movement, because if you foster a culture that engages in libertine actions, you will never be free of the state, because you will have a society that will not be able to sustain itself through structures that are outside of the state and will be further reliant on the state, which the state wants, which the state actively incentivizes and promotes so that it can perpetuate its existence.
You know, you're going to enjoy, I think, I'm doing a podcast with Popular Liberty, Andrew. We're going to do it on what's the bad one again? Low time preference or high time preference?
High time preference.
On high time preference, libertine Jews in ancient Israel, and why that led to their downfall. Because you can read it. You can read it as like, oh, they were doing bad stuff, and God's like, okay, I'm not protecting you guys anymore. They got invaded. Or you can read it naturalistically as they became weaker and they became prey, because that's what these things do. They make you weaker, and then they became prey for other targets, and that's what led to everyone invading them.
That's
and so we're gonna do a huge dissection of it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Well, everyone, this has been another episode of the Catholic Libertarian. I've been sitting down with some base people from Twitter. Go follow them. Go pray a rosary, and respect Catholicism.
Yeah, Caleb, pray a rosary. You Protestant heathen.
I might. You got some cool ideas there. Might check them out.
Oh, I'm working on them.
That's
we're gonna meet eventually, and we're gonna meet soon at Polk County. We're gonna go to one of the lame. Only we're gonna go to Walmart or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's lame. There's nothing else here.
They just opened up an axe throwing place. That sounds pretty awesome to me.
My friend went there. It's weird that they serve drinks.
Yeah,
that's weird to me. It's like I get axe throwing, I get drinking, I don't get selling both at the same time.
Well, that's Polk County. That's the bringing of together.
Yeah, I love it here. I'm never leaving. Okay, everybody. Have a good night.
See ya.
See ya.